Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mae Cave. My name is Megan, and today I'm bringing you a book review, and that book is Kitty Hawk and the Curse of the Yukon Gold by Ian Reading. I actually was contacted to receive a free book copy of this book in exchange for an honest review, so that's what you guys are getting today. So thank you guys so much to the publishers. I was so happy to be contacted for this book because it sounded amazing. So the plot of this book is it's centered around a young woman named Kitty Hawk. She is 18 years old, fresh out of high school. This is actually her summer out of high school, and she decides that she wants to fly up north to Alaska because she is actually currently living on the west coast of Canada, and she wants to go to Juneau and watch the humpback whales for the summer as a part of a research project that she's doing in conjunction with some universities, I think just around Canada. I'm not exactly sure where the universities are, but so she decides she wants to do that for the summer, and she loves science, and she loves flying. She actually flies this plane right here. It's called the de Havilland Beaver. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, you can tell me down below if you know how to say it, but that's how I'm going to say it. And so she's flying this plane, and she's going to go off without her parents. She's going to be staying with friends of the family, and she flies up from where she lives. I think it's called Tofino, Canada, and she's going up to Juneau, Alaska. And she's going to spend the summer watching the humpback whales as part of the research project, like I said. And then from there, it actually goes into this really fun and very unique and interesting adventure that I was totally not expecting. I was like, okay, Curse of the Yukon Gold, what does that have to do with humpback whales? Nothing. It's a completely different adventure. It actually happens after she does the humpback whale thing, but it's a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. So this book, let's start with the cons. There were a few things I didn't like about the book. One of them is that she is portrayed as this really smart young woman. She's graduated high school with great flying colors. She's really into science. I mean, she's done all this on her own. She got the funding for it all on her own, and she can fly a plane, and she's only 18. But sometimes, even though she's portrayed as this really smart individual, there are a few times where she just doesn't get things right away, and I'm thinking, okay, I got that in an instant, but it's taking her quite a few times, at least it seems like a few minutes in the book, to think it through and realize, okay, this is what's happening, or this is why that happened, or whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, come on, she's a really smart young woman. She should be able to figure that out almost instantly the way I did, and I don't think that I'm nearly as smart as she is. Or maybe I am, I don't know. So that annoyed me a little bit. It didn't happen too often to really bug me a lot, but it was there, and I was like, okay, come on, she can be smarter than that. I know she's 18, but that doesn't mean that she's just a regular teenager. So that was a little annoying. Also, she has, you know how sometimes you talk to yourself in your head, you're thinking, okay, well, should I do this, do that, and it's all in your head? Well, she does that, but it's the little voice, and she argues with the little voice, and it's like, okay, the little voice said this, and then I said this back, and I'm like, come on, that's a little juvenile. Can't she just think to herself instead of arguing back and forth with her little voice? I didn't really enjoy that part. I thought that was kind of annoying, and it does happen throughout the entire book. I can overlook it enough to really enjoy the book, but it was something that part of it really irritated me. I was like, okay, come on, I hope this kind of goes away soon, because she can just think to herself instead of having these weird little arguments, and they were kind of weird, and I just didn't like that part. And then the last thing I didn't like is she had this little romance at the beginning of the book that at first I'm thinking, oh man, now she's got this romance started, this book is all going to be about love, when I was looking for adventure, and she was very speechless, and she didn't really know how to talk to this boy. I'm like, come on, I know she's young, she's fresh out of high school, but that doesn't mean she doesn't know how to talk to a guy. I feel like that could have been portrayed better. She's almost seemed like a 14-year-old girl talking to her crush for the first time. But the romance didn't really go anywhere, and I realized near the end of the book why they had her meet him in that way for something that happened later. I was like, okay, there's a reason for it. It wasn't to have a romance love story in the book. So that made it a very minor con. So it gets irritating at first, but then you realize later what happened with that and why. And it's like, okay, there's no real love story. She's back to her adventure. So those are the only real cons that I had. Overall, I really enjoyed the book, though. Besides her little annoyances, I did like Kitty Hawk. I like that she was driven enough to do all this on her own and really push forward and be like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. I'm not going to say, oh, well, I'm just out of high school, so I can't really do anything because I'm a teenager or anything like that. She went and she did it, and I think that's amazing. She's very smart, she's very resourceful, she's very strong, and I really love that about her. And then I also like the other characters. There were some side characters like her parents, and she has a best friend and everything, but the characters that come about on her adventure that she goes because of the Curse of the Yukon Gold, that I'm not going to tell you who they are, I like their characters. I like her relationship with them, how it started is very different from how it ended, and you're thinking, okay, this is what's happening. But as you go through this adventure with them, you're thinking, oh, okay, it's not what I thought, it's this, and it's I really liked her relationship with these characters and how it's sort of how they bonded with each other from where they started to where they ended, and I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. That's one of my favorite things about this book, actually, is their friendship with each other. And I also did like the plotline, what exactly is happening with her. I don't want to tell you what it is now, because after the whales, it's this adventure, and it's kind of a spoiler to tell you, but I enjoyed it. It was very unique. I at least haven't read anything like it, and I liked the turns that it took. It wasn't just, okay, this is what's happening, and you expect it for the rest of the way. It wasn't that. It was like, okay, she starts like this, and you realize something else is going on, and I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed the setting and the history behind everything, because this is all set in real cities that are currently real cities in real life, and there's a lot of history behind it. So, and every once in a while they have a map of where they are. So for instance, here's a map, and it actually is true to where they are. This one, they start in a place called Skagway, Alaska, and they're trying to go over the Canadian border. And there are little maps throughout the entire book when she's going from one place to another. And at the very end of the book, let's see, here it is, he has a section for further reading, because a lot of what he talks about in the book is real. He talks about the Yukon Gold Rush, and he talks about 2 different clothing companies in the book that are real clothing companies in real life. There was a certain way of feeding, what the humpback whales did for feeding. That is actually a real phenomenon that happens in life. There was a museum that he talked about, different trails. There was a city that was in ruins that used to be a city and is no longer a city that was also talked about. And all these different things that he actually has little information, a little paragraph about each one, and like here's some reading or a website you can do for these things. And I thought that was really cool, and I love that. I love that there's an actual history behind everything that he talks about. So that really added to the book. I absolutely love that is part of this book. So if that is something that interests you, I would highly recommend that you pick up this book. So I guess those are my pros and my cons. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I highly recommend it to anyone that is looking for an adventure with a strong female lead character, and just that. It's, there's a little romance, but it's only within like 2 chapters and then you're done. The other thing is that the chapters are actually really short. It's kind of weird. I wasn't expecting this kind of format. So he has 2 different epilogues, 2 different prologues that are like part 1 and part 2, a chapter 0, and then all the other chapters, which it goes to chapter, it's like 80 something. Chapter 82, and they're really short. I never read a chapter in here that was longer than 6 pages, and a lot of them were 2 or 3 pages. So it has an interesting writing style, which kind of makes it feel like, oh, if I read 1 chapter right now, I'll be done in a minute. But I really enjoyed it, and even the writing style, I wasn't mad at it at all. It was kind of hard to get used to at first. I'm like, what is this? Why is it so short? But once you get into it, you just keep reading it. It's almost like the end of each scene is the end of a chapter instead of just a break in the chapter. But I still really enjoyed it. I definitely give this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend it. I love it. It's also the first in a series. I forgot to mention that. The series is the Kitty Hawk Flying Detective Agency series. There are 5 books out. I don't know if he's going to write more, and I don't know where the other ones are set. I looked up the names earlier, and I don't remember what they are, but I'll post the other pictures here. So I'm really looking forward to getting the other books and continuing with this series, because I loved it. It was so much fun, and I love the history behind it. I think it's almost like reading a historical fiction book, but set in the modern time. Just, they talked about different legends and everything that were true of that time period, the Gold Rush period that they were talking about. So anyway, that is it for this long, blabbery, ravey review. I highly recommend this book. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. If you're interested, please go check it out. It is so good. I really enjoyed it. And that's it. I'm going to stop rambling now. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. If you have any comments, if you want to tell me anything, if you're interested in the book and you want to talk about it, comment down below. Or just say hi, or whatever. You can even say bye. Bye. Anyway, I'm going to stop being weird now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.